In recent months, there has been a growing conversation around the state of spiritual awareness, morality, and the pressures shaping modern life. Observers describe a widespread sense of unease, pointing to trends of distraction, misinformation, and declining attention to values that once anchored communities. Within this environment, many individuals who consider themselves committed to faith or spiritual growth express concern that their focus is being tested. The issue is not limited to one nation or group. It has become a global matter, touching people across cultures and societies. The underlying message is simple but weighty. There is a shift underway. It is not a political trend alone, nor simply an economic cycle. Instead, it is a layered transformation that combines cultural, social, and spiritual dynamics. While some view it as troubling, others regard it as a necessary wake-up call, an opportunity for renewal. The first step is recognizing what is taking place. Analysts often describe this moment as one of dual realities. On one hand, there is an observable decline in moral clarity, with values that once guided communities now being questioned or ignored. On the other hand, there is also a rising hunger for meaning, with people seeking truth in new ways. This creates a paradox. The same environment that allows for distraction and decline also sets the stage for awakening and growth. For those who see themselves as committed to higher purpose, this dual reality poses a challenge. They are called to navigate an environment where pressures from society push in one direction, while the quiet voice of conscience and conviction calls in another. The tension is real, and ignoring it is no longer an option. A growing body of commentary frames this as a spiritual test. The idea is that external conditions, such as relentless pursuit of material success, societal pressures to conform, and a flood of misleading information, function as distractions designed to weaken individual resolve. The effect is subtle rather than dramatic. Instead of a sudden crisis, there is a gradual dulling of awareness. People find themselves more focused on daily survival or fleeting achievements while neglecting deeper foundations. This dulling is sometimes described as a kind of spiritual sleep. It is not a literal state of unconsciousness, but a metaphor for losing sharpness in recognizing truth. When distractions pile up, when schedules become overloaded, when consumption replaces reflection, the result is a diminished ability to discern right from wrong. Commentators suggest that this condition leaves people vulnerable, not only to external influences, but also to internal discouragement. The concern is that many remain unaware of this shift. They continue with routines, unaware of the larger currents shaping their decisions. This unawareness, however, does not shield them from consequences. Like a storm approaching while many remain unprepared, the reality of the change eventually arrives, whether acknowledged or not. In this context, warnings are being sounded. They are not intended as fear tactics, but as calls to attentiveness. The underlying message is that complacency carries risk. Ignoring the signals of decline, whether moral, spiritual, or cultural, means missing the opportunity to correct course before consequences deepen. For those described as chosen or set apart for a greater purpose, the urgency is greater. Their influence extends beyond themselves. When they drift, others who look to them, for example, may also falter. The language of being chosen does not imply superiority. Rather, it emphasizes responsibility. Those who recognize their calling are expected to remain alert and faithful, especially in moments when distraction and decay intensify. Their lives are meant to serve as anchors, providing stability and clarity to those around them. The challenge is sharpened by the environment in which this generation lives. Information flows faster than at any time in history, with constant access to media, advertising, and global events. Individuals are bombarded with voices competing for attention. The sheer volume of input makes discernment harder. What is true? What is misleading? Who should be trusted? These questions become increasingly complex when deception is woven skillfully into narratives. Observers note that this deception is not limited to overt lies. Often it is subtle, half-truths, distractions, or shifts in emphasis that gradually pull attention away from what is essential. The effect is cumulative. Over time, individuals find themselves drifting, not through a sudden decision, but through countless small compromises. Against this backdrop, many emphasize the need for vigilance. Vigilance means staying aware, questioning what is consumed, and maintaining a deliberate focus on core values. It means setting boundaries against influences that erode clarity. Importantly, vigilance also requires preparation. Just as a soldier does not wait until battle to train, individuals must build resilience before challenges peak. Preparation is not only about knowledge, but also about practice. Regular reflection, intentional choices, and consistent habits strengthen the ability to resist distraction. Communities that prioritize accountability, whether through faith groups, supportive families, or shared values, play a vital role in reinforcing this preparation. Together, they remind individuals that they are not alone in navigating the storm. The metaphor of darkness is often used to describe the current condition. Darkness does not always arrive as a sudden blackout. More often, it spreads gradually, dimming vision until people do not notice how much they have lost. Yet, the same metaphor carries hope. Even a small light can dispel darkness. Those who remain alert can influence far beyond what they imagine. Their clarity provides guidance for many who struggle in confusion. Economic pressures are another dimension of this challenge. The hunger for wealth, when unchecked, becomes a powerful distraction. It promises security but often delivers emptiness. Societies elevate success defined by possessions and status, leading many to devote energy to chasing financial goals at the expense of deeper fulfillment. For some, this pursuit becomes an idol, quietly replacing devotion to values with devotion to gain. The risk is not in money itself, which can be a tool for good, but in allowing it to dominate priorities. When accumulation becomes the highest aim, integrity suffers. Compromises multiply, and relationships weaken. Those who fall into this trap discover that wealth cannot satisfy the deeper hunger of the spirit. The result is anxiety, dissatisfaction, and vulnerability to manipulation. Commentators urge a balanced approach. Use resources wisely, but never allow them to dictate identity or worth. Recognizing money as a tool rather than a master frees individuals to pursue purpose without being enslaved by greed. History is filled with examples of those who, despite modest means, lived with profound impact because their values remained intact. Conversely, there are countless examples of those who gained wealth but lost peace, proving that possession without alignment leaves people unfulfilled. Looking ahead, analysts suggest that society is approaching a crossroads. Two distinct paths are visible. One path leads deeper into distraction, moral decay, and spiritual fatigue. The other leads toward awakening, renewal, and clarity. Which path individuals and communities choose will shape not only their present, but also the legacy they leave. Those who fall into distraction may find themselves drifting further, unaware until consequences become unavoidable. Their energy will be consumed by temporary pursuits, leaving little strength for lasting purpose. Those who choose awakening, however, will position themselves for resilience. They will face the same challenges, but with preparation and strength that enable them to endure. The notion of awakening is not abstract. It involves specific choices, prioritizing reflection over endless consumption, valuing truth over convenience, and seeking integrity over compromise. It means examining daily habits to ensure they align with long-term purpose. Awakening is a conscious act of reclaiming clarity in a world that thrives on confusion. For the chosen, those with influence and responsibility, the importance is magnified. Their example shapes not only their own lives, but also the trajectory of others. Communities look to them for leadership. Their courage can inspire hope in times of uncertainty, while their compromise can discourage many. Surveillance and suppression of truth have become topics of debate as well. Many describe a climate where voices of conviction are monitored or silenced, whether through social pressures, institutional opposition, or cultural shifts. Individuals who stand for values often feel scrutinized. This can create fear, discouraging them from speaking openly. Yet, history shows that truth cannot remain hidden indefinitely. Attempts to suppress it often highlight its significance. Those who persist with integrity, even in the face of resistance, eventually see their influence expand. Suppression may delay expression, but it cannot erase reality. The responsibility, therefore, is not to retreat, but to continue with courage, knowing that persistence matters. The discussion also extends to preparation for global shifts. Analysts predict that changes in cultural, spiritual, and environmental conditions will continue to accelerate. These shifts will test priorities and expose vulnerabilities. In such times, those who are prepared, spiritually, mentally, and practically, will be positioned not only to endure, but to lead. Preparation is both internal and external. Internally, it requires clarity of belief, resilience of character, and steadiness of purpose. Externally, it involves wise stewardship of resources, building supportive networks, and developing practical skills to navigate uncertainty. Both dimensions are necessary. Focusing on one without the other leaves gaps that can be exploited. The signs of these shifts are visible. Deception spreads widely, sometimes disguised as progress. Moral decline accelerates, eroding trust in institutions and communities. Global unrest continues, creating instability across nations. At the same time, there is a noticeable rise in spiritual hunger. Many express dissatisfaction with shallow answers, seeking deeper truths. This hunger itself is a signal, a sign that awakening is possible. Recognizing these signs is essential. Those who ignore them risk being caught unprepared. Those who acknowledge them can respond wisely, making deliberate choices to strengthen foundations. Discernment is key, learning to distinguish between noise and signal, between distraction and direction. Spiritual battles, while often framed metaphorically, have tangible effects. They influence not only the soul, but also the body and mind. Stress, fatigue, and confusion are common outcomes when individuals neglect alignment. Maintaining health, therefore, becomes part of spiritual strength. Care for the body through rest, nourishment, and balanced routines is not separate from faith but part of it. A weakened body limits clarity of thought and resilience of spirit. Emotional health is equally important. Anxiety, fear, and unresolved wounds create vulnerabilities. Addressing them through reflection, support, and trust builds resilience. Communities that prioritize emotional well-being alongside spiritual clarity often prove strongest in times of crisis. Finally, unity is emphasized as a force multiplier. When individuals join together in shared values and collective effort, their impact is magnified. Collaboration provides protection, encouragement, and strength. It reminds individuals that they are not isolated, but part of a larger movement. This unity becomes a shield against division and discouragement. Society is facing a period of rapid change. Darkness and distraction threaten clarity, but awakening and renewal remain possible. The choice lies with individuals and communities. Preparation, vigilance, and resilience are essential. Wealth and success cannot replace integrity. Suppression cannot silence truth forever. Health and unity are vital supports for strength. The discussion of awakening and renewal naturally leads to the question of how such transformation actually occurs. While the challenges of distraction, deception, and moral decline are clear, the pathway forward requires deliberate steps. Analysts often describe renewal as both a personal and collective process. It begins with individuals recognizing their own condition and then extends outward, influencing families, communities, and even nations. At the personal level, renewal starts with awareness. Awareness involves more than acknowledging that distractions exist. It requires a candid examination of habits, priorities, and influences. This process is sometimes uncomfortable, as it forces individuals to confront the gap between their stated values and their actual choices. Yet without awareness, change is impossible. People cannot address what they refuse to see. Once awareness is established, the next step is realignment. Realignment means bringing daily actions back into harmony with core convictions. For example, someone may recognize that the pursuit of possessions has overtaken their focus on relationships or spiritual growth. Realignment, in this case, would involve making intentional adjustments, reducing excess commitments, redirecting time, or setting boundaries that protect space for what matters most. These changes may appear small, but have cumulative impact. Renewal also requires resilience. The process is rarely smooth. Old habits resist change, and external pressures remain strong. In moments of difficulty, resilience sustains progress. This resilience can be built through reflection, prayer or meditation, study, and engagement with communities that encourage accountability. The consistent reinforcement of values creates stability when distractions press hardest. Observers also emphasize the importance of practical actions in daily life. Spiritual concepts can seem abstract until they are connected to concrete practices. For example, prioritizing rest and healthy nourishment supports clarity of thought and emotional stability, which in turn strengthens spiritual resolve. Likewise, managing finances responsibly avoids unnecessary stress and prevents money from becoming a destructive master. In this way, practical disciplines reinforce deeper convictions. At the community level, renewal requires shared commitment. Families and groups that cultivate honesty, accountability, and encouragement create environments where individuals can thrive. When values are reinforced collectively, they are more likely to endure. This collective strength also provides a buffer against societal pressures. Communities that stand together in integrity are less easily swayed by shifting cultural norms. The broader impact of renewal is significant. When enough individuals and communities embrace clarity, the ripple effects extend into larger society. Institutions regain trust when integrity is prioritized. Public discourse becomes healthier when truth is valued over convenience. Even economic systems can be influenced by a shift away from unchecked greed toward sustainable stewardship. While such outcomes may take time, history shows that societal change often begins with quiet movements of conscience before becoming visible on a larger scale. An important dimension of renewal is discernment. In an environment saturated with information, discernment is essential to distinguish truth from deception. Discernment requires patience, careful evaluation, and the willingness to question appearances. It also requires humility, recognizing that no individual is immune to error. Communities that foster open dialogue and mutual accountability often prove more effective at maintaining discernment than individuals working in isolation. Another component is courage. Renewal often demands standing apart from prevailing trends. This can involve criticism, misunderstanding, or even opposition. The temptation to conform is strong, especially when standing firm risks social or economic cost. Yet, courage remains indispensable. Without it, awareness and conviction cannot translate into action. Courage is not the absence of fear, but the decision to act in spite of it. Historical examples demonstrate that progress, whether moral, social, or spiritual, has always required individuals willing to resist pressure and speak truth. Their courage often paved the way for broader change, even when recognition came only later. Observers also note that renewal must be ongoing. It is not a single event, but a continuous process. Just as physical health requires ongoing care, spiritual and moral clarity require regular maintenance. The pressures of distraction, greed, and complacency never fully disappear. They adapt with time, presenting new challenges. Therefore, vigilance is permanent. Those who expect a one-time awakening to sustain them indefinitely may find themselves unprepared for future tests. The role of trust is critical in this journey. In a world where promises are often broken and loyalties shift, trust in God or in enduring principles becomes the foundation of stability. Human institutions, while valuable, are limited and fallible. Trusting in higher principles provides assurance when circumstances fluctuate. This trust is not passive resignation, but an active reliance that shapes decisions, reduces anxiety, and strengthens resolve. Trust also reframes challenges. Instead of viewing obstacles as defeats, those who trust see them as opportunities for growth. Failures become lessons rather than final verdicts. Delays become seasons of preparation rather than wasted time. This perspective allows resilience to flourish, as individuals are less likely to be derailed by temporary setbacks. The call to resist distractions remains central. Distractions, whether from technology, entertainment, or relationships, often appear harmless, yet over time they erode focus. The challenge is not to eliminate all leisure or engagement, but to set boundaries. For example, limiting exposure to content that promotes confusion, avoiding environments that encourage compromise, and prioritizing spaces that reinforce clarity are practical strategies. The principle is balance. Engage with the world without being consumed by it. A critical point often raised is the necessity of preparation. Preparation is not simply about avoiding crisis, but about building strength before it is required. Athletes train long before competition. Soldiers prepare before battle. Likewise, those who wish to remain strong in faith or purpose must cultivate habits before challenges escalate. Preparation includes study, reflection, and practical readiness. It also involves anticipating challenges without fear, knowing that resilience is built in advance. This preparation is especially important in times of global change. Analysts note that cultural, environmental, and spiritual shifts are accelerating. These shifts expose weaknesses, but also reveal opportunities. Those who are prepared will not only survive, but may also lead. Their clarity becomes a resource for others who are unprepared. In this sense, preparation is not selfish, but service-oriented, as it enables individuals to support others. The idea of reward is also part of the discussion. Rewards are not limited to material gain, but include peace, stability, and fulfillment. Those who persevere in clarity often find themselves experiencing joy and satisfaction that transcends circumstances. This reward may also manifest in opportunities, doors opening, influence expanding, or relationships deepening. Importantly, the reward is not seen as a transaction, but as a natural outcome of alignment with enduring principles. The connection between awakening and abundance deserves particular attention. Abundance here is not defined by excess, but by sufficiency and peace. When individuals align their priorities, they often discover that their needs are met in unexpected ways. Opportunities arise, resources flow more effectively, and stress diminishes. This does not mean challenges disappear, but it reframes them within a context of provision rather than scarcity. Abundance is also holistic. It touches not only finances, but also relationships, health, and purpose. A person who is at peace with their values often experiences harmony in multiple areas. This harmony creates a sense of richness that no amount of possessions can replicate. Furthermore, abundance encourages generosity. Those who recognize their blessings are more inclined to share, creating cycles of provision that benefit entire communities. Healing and restoration are closely tied to renewal. Healing is not limited to physical health, but includes emotional, wounds, broken relationships, and fractured identities. Many individuals carry burdens from the past that hinder present clarity. Renewal provides an opportunity to release these burdens. Through reflection, forgiveness, and trust, individuals experience restoration. This restoration brings not only personal peace, but also stronger capacity to serve others. Communities that prioritize healing often become hubs of renewal. When people experience acceptance and restoration, they are more likely to extend the same to others. This creates environments where trust grows, division diminishes, and resilience strengthens. Such communities become examples of what is possible on a broader scale. The concept of a global awakening is also important. While individual renewal is critical, the collective movement is equally significant. Analysts suggest that humanity is entering a period of spiritual revolution. The signs, moral decline, deception, unrest, and hunger for meaning, point to an imminent shift. This awakening will challenge old paradigms and demand new levels of clarity. The global awakening is not a sudden event, but a gradual tide. It begins with individuals and communities, but eventually influences nations. It breaks down barriers of division, racial, cultural, and ideological, uniting people under shared values of truth and hope. While resistance will exist, the trajectory points toward greater openness to meaning beyond materialism. The chosen ones, those who recognize their responsibility, stand at the center of this awakening. Their role is to lead by example, to embody clarity, and to encourage others. Their influence ripples far beyond their immediate circles. In times of uncertainty, people look for stability. When chosen individuals stand firm, they become anchors in turbulent waters. This leadership is not always formal. It often manifests in daily integrity, how one works, relates, and responds. Leadership through example proves more powerful than speeches or declarations. It demonstrates that alignment is possible even in challenging times. Part of this leadership involves breaking cycles of bondage, including financial stress. Many live under the weight of debt, scarcity, or fear. These conditions limit potential and foster anxiety. Breaking free requires both practical steps, such as wise stewardship, and spiritual clarity that rejects the lies of scarcity. Generosity and disciplined management are keys to freedom. When individuals embrace these principles, they experience confidence and independence, enabling them to focus on purpose rather than survival. Health also plays a central role. Physical vitality supports clarity of mind and strength of spirit. Neglecting health undermines resilience. Therefore, intentional care, balanced nourishment, adequate rest, and exercise is vital. In a broader sense, health is stewardship of the body as a vessel for purpose. It is not about perfection, but about alignment. A healthy body supports a strong spirit, enabling individuals to endure challenges more effectively. Equally important is collective action. Unity in purpose magnifies strength. When individuals join in shared reflection or prayer, their influence multiplies. Collective action reinforces resilience, protects against isolation, and creates momentum for change. The global awakening depends not only on individual renewal, but on collective unity. The themes of renewal, preparation, and collective action are clear. Awakening is possible but requires awareness, courage, and resilience. Abundance and healing are natural outcomes of alignment. The global awakening is not distant. It is unfolding now, inviting participation from those who are willing. The discussion of global awakening naturally raises questions about how it reshapes societies and influences long-term directions. When individuals begin to experience renewal and communities adopt practices of clarity and resilience, the broader impact becomes significant. Societies, after all, are built upon the values, decisions, and interactions of people. When enough people shift in their outlook, culture itself changes. One of the clearest ways awakening influences society is through a renewed sense of integrity. Integrity is more than personal honesty. It is the alignment between stated values and lived practices. In times of widespread compromise, integrity often erodes, leaving systems vulnerable to corruption and mistrust. However, when individuals and communities recenter on truth, they begin to influence institutions around them. Trust is gradually rebuilt, decision-making becomes more transparent, and accountability is valued. These changes, though subtle at first, have profound cumulative effects. Another societal impact of awakening is in the realm of priorities. Material success and status often dominate cultural narratives. Yet, when clarity emerges, societies begin to question whether unchecked pursuit of wealth and power actually produces long-term stability. Instead, attention shifts toward sustainability, fairness, and human well-being. For example, communities may invest more in education, healthcare, and environmental stewardship, recognizing that collective prosperity requires more than financial gain. This shift in priorities does not diminish the importance of progress, but redefines it. Progress becomes measured not only by economic growth, but by quality of life, trust in institutions, and opportunities for all members of society. A spiritually awakened society is less likely to tolerate extremes of inequality, recognizing that injustice corrodes unity. While challenges remain, the overall trajectory bends toward inclusion and fairness. The impact of awakening is also seen in cultural dialogue. When individuals cultivate discernment, conversations become more thoughtful and less reactionary. The current climate of polarized discourse often reduces complex issues to shallow arguments. Awakening encourages deeper listening, respect for differing perspectives, and the pursuit of common ground. It fosters an environment where disagreement can exist without hostility, and where collaboration replaces division. Education plays a crucial role in this transformation. As societies awaken, they increasingly value not just technical knowledge, but also moral and spiritual development. Curriculums may expand to include critical thinking, ethics, and holistic well-being. The aim shifts from producing workers for an economy to developing citizens capable of contributing meaningfully to community and global life. This broader vision of education reflects an understanding that knowledge without wisdom is incomplete. Another significant outcome is resilience in times of crisis. Societies grounded in awakening tend to weather challenges more effectively. Whether facing natural disasters, economic downturns, or political unrest, awakened communities draw on trust, solidarity, and clarity to respond constructively. They resist panic and fragmentation, instead mobilizing collective resources to adapt and rebuild. This resilience not only mitigates damage, but also accelerates recovery. Economically, awakening can foster new models of business and trade. Companies may prioritize ethical practices, sustainability, and fair treatment of workers. Consumers, increasingly discerning, support enterprises that align with their values. This creates market incentives for integrity and responsibility. While profit remains a goal, it becomes balanced with purpose. Over time, such shifts can reshape industries, demonstrating that ethical practices and financial success are not mutually exclusive. On a global scale, awakening influences international relations. Nations grounded in clarity and integrity are more inclined toward cooperation than exploitation. They recognize that global challenges such as climate change, migration, and pandemics require collective solutions. While geopolitical tensions will always exist, awakened leadership fosters dialogue, compromise, and shared responsibility. This reduces the likelihood of conflict and increases the potential for constructive partnerships. Observers note that awakening also redefines leadership itself. Traditional models often emphasize authority, control, or charisma. In contrast, awakened leadership prioritizes service, humility, and vision. Leaders who embody these qualities inspire trust and loyalty, not through fear, but through respect. Their influence extends beyond policy, shaping culture and values. Such leadership is urgently needed in a time when disillusionment with authority runs high. Generational influence is another critical factor. Young people are particularly responsive to authenticity. They quickly recognize when words and actions do not match, and they gravitate toward leaders and communities that demonstrate consistency. Awakening equips younger generations with tools to navigate a complex world. It also challenges older generations to mentor and empower youth rather than control or dismiss them. When intergenerational cooperation flourishes, societies benefit from both wisdom and innovation. The long-term vision of a spiritually awakened world involves a reorientation of priorities across all levels of life. At the individual level, people live with greater purpose and peace. At the community level, trust and cooperation grow stronger. At the societal level, justice and sustainability gain prominence. And at the global level, cooperation replaces exploitation as the guiding principle. Of course, challenges remain. Resistance to awakening is inevitable. Some will prefer comfort over change, deception over truth, or control over cooperation. There will be setbacks, conflicts, and periods of doubt. Yet history shows that progress is rarely linear. Movements toward justice and clarity often face opposition before achieving lasting change. The key is perseverance. Another challenge lies in maintaining balance. Awakening should not lead to arrogance or superiority. When individuals or communities believe they are more enlightened than others, they risk creating new divisions. True awakening fosters humility, recognizing that growth is ongoing and that all people have value. This humility prevents renewal from devolving into exclusion. Technology also presents both opportunities and challenges. On one hand, digital platforms can spread awareness, connect communities, and provide access to knowledge. On the other hand, they can amplify distractions, misinformation, and division. Navigating this tension requires discernment. Technology must be used intentionally as a tool for connection and education, rather than as a source of constant distraction. Environmental stewardship is another dimension of awakening. As societies gain clarity, they increasingly recognize the interconnectedness of life. Environmental degradation is not only a physical crisis, but also a moral one, reflecting short-term thinking and disregard for future generations. Awakened communities prioritize sustainable practices, renewable energy, and conservation. They view stewardship not as optional, but as a responsibility. The role of art and culture in awakening should not be overlooked. Art has always been a powerful medium for expressing values, challenging assumptions, and inspiring change. Music, literature, film, and visual arts can communicate truths that logic alone cannot. In times of awakening, art becomes a vehicle for renewal, shaping imagination, and stirring collective conscience. One area of particular significance is the concept of justice. Societies in moral decline often witness widening gaps between privilege and poverty. Awakening shines a light on these disparities, calling for correction. Justice in this sense is not merely punitive, but restorative. It seeks to heal divisions, repair harm, and provide opportunities for those marginalized. Such an approach strengthens social fabric and reduces cycles of resentment. Healthcare also benefits from awakening. Beyond physical treatment, there is recognition of the need for holistic care that addresses emotional, spiritual, and social well-being. Systems begin to integrate preventative care, mental health support, and community engagement. The emphasis shifts from treating disease to cultivating health. This approach reduces costs, improves outcomes, and reflects respect for human dignity. Economists and sociologists alike observe that societies marked by awakening often experience innovation. When fear and greed no longer dominate decision-making, creativity flourishes. People feel freer to experiment, collaborate, and take risks for the common good. Innovation in such contexts tends to address real human needs rather than merely creating new markets. This practical creativity benefits society at large. The global awakening also reshapes identity. In a world increasingly fragmented by divisions of race, class, and ideology, awakening emphasizes shared humanity. It recognizes diversity as strength rather than threat. Identity becomes grounded not only in cultural background, but also in shared values of truth, compassion, and cooperation. This expanded sense of belonging reduces conflict and fosters peace. Critics sometimes question whether such visions are realistic. They argue that human nature is too flawed, or that self-interest will always dominate. While such concerns are valid, they underestimate the power of values and vision. History provides ample evidence of transformations once thought impossible. Slavery abolished, rights expanded, peace achieved after long conflict. These changes occurred not because human nature was perfect, but because enough people embraced clarity and courage. Furthermore, awakening does not deny imperfection. It acknowledges human flaws while affirming the possibility of growth. It builds systems that account for weakness while encouraging virtue. This balance between realism and hope makes awakening sustainable. It is neither naive nor cynical, but grounded in both truth and aspiration. The responsibilities placed on chosen individuals in this context are significant. They are expected to embody integrity, encourage others, and resist distractions. Their role is not to dominate, but to serve as examples. They demonstrate that renewal is possible even in challenging environments. In doing so, they inspire others to follow. Looking to the future, analysts predict that awakening will continue to spread unevenly. Some regions will embrace it quickly, while others resist. Some communities will model renewal, while others struggle. Yet the overall trajectory points toward growth. The cumulative effect of millions of small acts of integrity, courage, and clarity will reshape the global landscape. This long-term vision is not without cost. Awakening demands sacrifice. It may involve giving up comfort, enduring criticism, or facing opposition. But the benefits outweigh the costs. Societies marked by awakening enjoy greater trust, stability, and resilience. Individuals experience peace, purpose, and abundance. And future generations inherit a world more aligned with truth. In conclusion, the global awakening reshapes society at every level. It restores integrity, redefines priorities, fosters resilience, and inspires cooperation. It challenges injustice, promotes sustainability, and encourages creativity. It is not a utopia, but a transformation, gradual, contested, and ongoing. Its success depends on individuals and communities choosing daily to align with truth. Attention now turns to the practical implications for individuals living within this global shift. How can people maintain resilience over the long term? What habits ensure clarity amidst constant distraction? And how can they contribute constructively to the broader movement? These questions will be explored in Part 4, offering practical strategies for sustaining awakening and building a future grounded in integrity and purpose. The examination of global awakening naturally moves from broad societal implications to individual responsibilities. While large-scale change attracts attention, the foundation always rests on the daily decisions of individuals. No society can sustain integrity, resilience, or justice unless its members live these values consistently. Therefore, the final section focuses on practical applications. What individuals can do to cultivate clarity, resist distractions, and contribute meaningfully to this wider transformation. The first principle is intentional reflection. In a fast-moving world filled with information and noise, reflection provides the necessary pause to evaluate direction. Reflection does not require extended retreats. Even a few minutes each day of quiet thought can recalibrate focus. This practice allows individuals to distinguish between urgent distractions and important priorities. Over time, consistent reflection strengthens discernment, enabling people to identify falsehoods and maintain clarity. Closely connected to reflection is discipline in consumption, what individuals choose to watch, read, and engage with daily. Media environments are saturated with conflicting messages, many designed to provoke emotional reaction rather than encourage understanding. Disciplined consumption involves setting boundaries, verifying information, and prioritizing content that informs rather than misleads. When people monitor their intake carefully, they protect their minds from confusion and cultivate steadiness. Another vital habit is community involvement. Isolation weakens resilience, while connection strengthens it. Communities provide support, accountability, and perspective. In times of uncertainty, communities that value integrity and mutual care serve as anchors. They remind individuals that awakening is not a solitary pursuit, but a shared journey. Being part of such a network reinforces commitment and prevents discouragement. Spiritual practices also sustain individuals in awakening. Whether expressed through prayer, meditation, or study, these practices deepen awareness and strengthen resilience. They provide a framework for interpreting challenges and maintaining hope. Without such grounding, individuals are more vulnerable to fear or distraction. Regular spiritual engagement builds endurance and equips people to navigate difficulties. Without losing clarity, equally important is the cultivation of gratitude. Gratitude shifts focus from scarcity to abundance, from frustration to possibility. It does not deny challenges, but contextualizes them within a broader perspective. People who consistently practice gratitude tend to be more resilient, adaptable, and hopeful. Gratitude is also contagious, influencing communities by fostering optimism and cooperation. The role of service should not be underestimated. Awakening is not only about personal peace, but also about contributing to others. Acts of service, whether through volunteering, mentorship, or daily kindness, extend the benefits of awakening outward. Service reinforces humility, prevents self-centeredness, and strengthens social bonds. It demonstrates that renewal is meaningful not only in theory, but also in practice. Economic choices also reflect individual contributions. People influence systems through what they support financially. Choosing products and services aligned with integrity encourages responsible business practices. Supporting local enterprises strengthens communities, while mindful consumption reduces exploitation. While no individual can change markets alone, collective action creates significant impact over time. Health is another area where individuals play a role. Physical vitality supports mental clarity and emotional stability. Neglecting health weakens capacity for resilience, while intentional care strengthens it. Adequate rest, balanced nutrition, and physical activity are not merely lifestyle choices, but investments in long-term clarity. When individuals honor their bodies, they reinforce the interconnectedness of physical, emotional, and spiritual well-being. Decision-making also requires intentionality. In times of awakening, choices often carry greater weight. Decisions about relationships, careers, or daily routines can either strengthen or weaken clarity. Individuals who adopt a deliberate approach, seeking counsel, weighing consequences, aligning with values, are better equipped to sustain awakening. Impulsive choices, by contrast, often create setbacks or distractions. Another crucial factor is resilience in the face of opposition. Awakening is rarely met with universal approval. Individuals may encounter criticism, misunderstanding, or even hostility. Resilience involves maintaining steadiness despite these pressures. It requires confidence in values, patience with others, and the ability to respond without hostility. Over time, resilience demonstrates authenticity and inspires respect, even from critics. Education remains central to sustaining awakening. Lifelong learning broadens perspective and strengthens discernment. Individuals who remain curious and informed are less vulnerable to manipulation. Education in this sense extends beyond formal study to include reading widely, engaging in dialogue, and seeking wisdom from diverse sources. This openness fosters humility and adaptability. Technology, while presenting challenges, can also be harnessed constructively. Individuals can use digital tools to access knowledge, connect with communities, and amplify constructive messages. Intentional use of technology transforms it from a source of distraction into a platform for influence. The key is moderation and clarity about purpose. In practical terms, individuals can also contribute by mentoring younger generations. Youth often face heightened confusion in rapidly changing environments. Mentorship provides guidance, encouragement, and stability. It ensures that lessons learned by one generation are passed on to the next. This continuity strengthens the long-term sustainability of awakening. Resisting complacency is equally vital. Awakening is not a single event, but an ongoing process. Complacency, believing one has already arrived, weakens vigilance. Individuals must remain committed to growth, open to correction, and willing to adapt. This posture of humility prevents stagnation and sustains momentum. Civic engagement represents another form of contribution. Voting, advocacy, and participation in community initiatives translate awakening into systemic influence. Individuals who engage constructively in civic life help shape policies and institutions toward integrity. While single actions may seem small, their collective impact is substantial. The role of families in sustaining awakening should also be emphasized. Families transmit values across generations. When families prioritize honesty, responsibility, and mutual care, they create environments where awakening thrives naturally. Children raised in such settings often carry these values into adulthood, influencing future communities. Workplace practices are another arena of influence. Individuals who demonstrate integrity, fairness, and respect in professional settings set standards for others. They challenge cultures of exploitation or dishonesty by modeling alternative approaches. Over time, such practices influence organizational culture, creating environments where values are not compromised for short-term gain. Resisting fear is essential. Fear often drives reactionary choices and undermines clarity. Individuals who cultivate courage act not recklessly, but with conviction. They refuse to let fear dictate direction, choosing instead to align with truth. This steadiness reassures others and stabilizes communities in uncertain times. Environmental responsibility also belongs to individual action. Simple choices, reducing waste, conserving energy, supporting sustainable products, reflect respect for creation and concern for future generations. These practices align personal life with broader values of stewardship. They also signal to industries and policymakers that sustainability matters. Financial stewardship is another domain requiring attention. Responsible budgeting, avoidance of debt, and generosity create freedom. Financial freedom strengthens resilience, enabling individuals to respond to opportunities and challenges without being constrained by fear of loss. Stewardship also reflects trust, that provision extends beyond material wealth. Another practice is transparency in relationships. Deception erodes trust, while honesty strengthens it. Individuals who prioritize transparency cultivate environments of security and respect. These relationships withstand challenges more effectively, contributing to stability in wider communities. The practice of patience also supports awakening. Transformation is gradual and often slower than desired. Impatience can lead to discouragement or rash decisions. Patience acknowledges the reality of process, sustaining commitment even when results are not immediate. This endurance is essential for long-term renewal. Celebration of progress is equally important. While challenges remain, recognition of growth reinforces motivation. Celebrating small victories builds confidence and encourages continued effort. It reminds individuals and communities that change is possible and already underway. A critical part of sustaining awakening is resisting cynicism. Cynicism dismisses efforts as futile and undermines hope. While realism acknowledges difficulties, cynicism denies possibility. Individuals who resist cynicism protect their capacity for action. They continue to believe that their contributions matter, inspiring others to do the same. Global perspective strengthens awakening. Recognizing that challenges are shared across nations fosters solidarity. It encourages cooperation rather than isolation. Individuals who cultivate global awareness contribute to solutions that transcend borders, reflecting the interconnected nature of modern life. In times of rapid change, adaptability is also essential. Awakening requires flexibility in methods, while remaining firm in values. Adaptability allows individuals to navigate uncertainty, embrace innovation, and adjust strategies without compromising principles. This balance of firmness and flexibility strengthens resilience. Finally, perseverance remains the cornerstone of all efforts. Without perseverance, reflection, discipline, and service fade quickly. With perseverance, even small steps accumulate into significant transformation. Perseverance is not stubbornness, but steady commitment. It recognizes that awakening is a lifelong process, requiring continual attention. As this commentary concludes, the overall picture is clear. The global awakening underway is both a challenge and an opportunity. It exposes weaknesses in individuals and societies while offering paths toward renewal. Its success depends not only on broad movements, but on the daily decisions of individuals. Every act of integrity, every moment of reflection, and every choice to serve contributes to the cumulative impact. The chosen ones, those who recognize this call, play a pivotal role. Their example inspires others. Their resilience strengthens communities, and their contributions shape societies. They are not passive observers, but active participants in a transformation that spans generations. In the end, the message is steady and factual. Awakening is not an abstract concept or distant event. It is happening now, in the choices made each day. Its outcomes are visible in communities where trust grows, in societies where justice advances, and in individuals who live with clarity and peace. The path is demanding, but the rewards are substantial. By embracing reflection, discipline, community, service, and perseverance, individuals align with the deeper currents of renewal shaping the world. Their efforts may seem small, but collectively, they represent the foundation of lasting transformation. The conclusion of this series emphasizes responsibility. Awakening is both gift and task. It requires gratitude for opportunities given and commitment to act faithfully. In a time of uncertainty, those who respond with integrity and courage become beacons of stability and hope. The global awakening is real, measurable in shifts of values, priorities, and practices. Its trajectory depends on the willingness of individuals to live with clarity. By doing so, they ensure that the future will be marked not by decay and confusion, but by purpose, resilience, and abundance. This is the responsibility and privilege of every chosen one: to live awake, to act with integrity, and to contribute faithfully. The journey continues, and its outcomes will shape generations to come.